Hey everybody, hope you're doing good today. Neil the Knife Guy here. Today I'm going to be talking about He's Got a Knife. So Kevin Cleary recently did a video on what I just said, He's Got a Knife. And in that video he sort of discussed people's perception of him carrying a pocket knife. BirdShot 4 also did a video on the same subject, and I'll put both the links to their videos in the description below so you could check them out. If you haven't checked out those channels, I highly suggest you do. Both very good channels, and a lot of great content come from them. But I wanted to do a short video on that same topic of my experiences carrying a pocket knife. So for the last 9 or 10 years, I have actually had a pocket knife on me most of the time. In the last 3 years, it's been literally every day that I had a pocket knife on me. But over a 10-year period, I've carried pocket knives just throughout my day-to-day basis. 10 years ago, I used to carry, not these exact models obviously, but Victorinox knives, and mainly Buck brand knives, this being the 110. I have about 15 other Buck knives, and those are a lot of the knives that I used to carry actually. Before I even knew of brands like Spyderco or Benchmade. So back then, well, let me just start off by saying my family was a hunting family, so knives were tools to clean game, and that's sort of how I was brought up. They weren't toys, they weren't sort of weapons. A lot of people know me as sort of a happy guy, someone who really gets along with everybody, someone who doesn't anger easily, someone who's very sort of just peaceful, and don't really carry knives as weapons at all. There's a few out there who know me, and they know that I really don't need to carry a weapon. We'll just leave that at that. But basic perceptions of knives depends really on who's actually carrying them. So a lot of that has to do with maybe the way you dress or the way you come across to people. So let's say people perceive me as an angry person, someone who always got angry, someone who yelled all the time, someone who just flew off the handle, and they know I carry a knife. They would be more worried of me carrying a knife than someone who's, as I am, just sort of calm and happy all the time. So my experience with carrying a knife has actually been a really good one. So when I take out a knife, no matter what really it is, whether it be something like this, even something like this, or just your standard Victorinox, no one really sort of bats an eyelash at me. No one really thinks it's strange. A lot of the people who I'm around on a day-to-day basis already know I do YouTube videos and that they're on folding knives, fixed blade knives, camping knives, all sorts of things like that. And just sort of go, okay, yeah, he's using a knife. And Kevin Cleary basically said the same thing. Everybody around him knows him as a YouTuber type thing, or he carries and collects knives, and it's no big deal. But that really does have a lot to do with how people know you. So, like I said, if you're like an angry person, someone who lashes out all the time, maybe carrying a knife wouldn't be the best thing, because people would assume you're gonna stab them maybe. But I just started a new job, and I know I'm bouncing around from topic to topic, but that's a ramble video. I just started a new job, and it's a retail job. So my old job was basic construction and renovations, that sort of thing. So a knife in that setting is commonplace. You see them all the time. Gas station knives, fixed blades, didn't matter. They were just part and parcel for what the job was. Moving to a retail job like I recently did, and they're not commonplace, so you don't see everybody walking around with a knife at work. They do have box cutters, and yes, that's still a knife, but it's not sort of the same. So when I'm at work, and for the last couple weeks I've been carrying my Benchmade 940, I've used this, and people haven't really sort of paid it any attention. One time, a lot of milk was left out of the fridge, so I had to actually cut it open and drain it down the sink to actually process it and mark it down as damaged goods. And decided to use this because it would be the quickest sort of way to do it. There was a couple people around me, one person actually working with me, and he didn't really think anything of it. He asked me a couple questions about it, like, what's that? Like, how does it work? Because he didn't really understand when I flicked it closed. And a lot of people who aren't into knives really sort of don't know how sort of fun or maybe easy some knives nowadays are to open and close. So he was more curious than anything about the knife I was carrying. I handed it to him, he looked over it, and he went, okay, and handed it back to me. So it wasn't really a big deal to him, and nothing came of it. But let's say that same sort of situation, and you were sort of a meaner disposition or someone who was known to quick to anger, it might have went differently. So a lot of carrying knives for me is a good experience because people know me as a good guy. I mean, I'm not out to stir shit, I'm not out to cause problems, and that's sort of the way people perceive me. So another thing is how sort of the knife looks, and both Kevin Cleary and BirdShot 4 touched on this subject. So let's say you have, and I'll just use this as an example, a Spartan Blade Enyo. This looks sort of dangerous to not knife people. Like, very pointy, it has all these jagged edges, it's a fixed blade also, so people might perceive this more of a weapon than your Victorinox, which there's a case for it and a case against it. This isn't going to fold up on your fingers, where if you try stabbing somebody with a slip joint knife, it probably will. But let's say that knife is the Kershaw Leak. So nothing really scary about this knives, and I've had a couple compliments from non-knife people on this blade. But the one thing that would probably spook non-knife people is the assist on this. So you pull it out, you flick it, and it flies out with that snap. People might think it's a switchblade because they don't know the sort of difference between assisted and automatics. So this might actually scare more people than something you can just thumb out easily. And that's probably the last topic I'll talk about, is how the knife is deployed. So fixed blades are more commonplace where I live than folding knives, for people who are actually carrying a knife as a tool. You could wear it on your belt in plain sight, and that's totally legal, not concealed, not considered really a weapon. Whereas folding knives, they clip into your pocket, and they are in your pocket, but they're not concealed at the same time. And we all see the movies where the bad guy pulls the knife out of his pocket and flicks it open, or pushes the button because it's an automatic or a switchblade, and sort of threatens the couple usually walking down the street, right? So a lot of it is deployment, if you have to deploy it with two hands. But I found the best sort of course of action for actually carrying a knife is informing people. Before I started my actual job, before the store opened, before I got to know the people I work with now, I would talk to them about my YouTube channel. So they would ask me, what do I do for fun? And I'd tell them I play guitar and I have a YouTube channel. And right away they would ask questions because, well, they're curious and they want to know. So I'd tell them about my YouTube channel, like, oh, what do you do for videos and stuff like that. And I'd tell them I do outdoor videos, I do testing videos, and they would say, testing of what? Knives. And they would sort of look a little curious, a little maybe wondering, and I'd tell them I sometimes get sent stuff by companies, sometimes I go out in the bush and test a knife just to see how it performs, give my feedback on it, and maybe 4 or 5 people at work said, oh, that's pretty cool, man, that's awesome. So it all sort of works out for me when I'm carrying a knife. No one really considers it weird or out of the ordinary. So I've been actually lucky. So basically, just to touch on what I've been talking about the last 10 minutes, the whole "he's got a knife" really depends on who you are as a person, how people perceive you as a person, and how you inform people on sort of why you carry a knife. If you go up to someone or they see you have a knife and you go, "Yeah, I carry this for a weapon so I can stab people," they're not really going to feel comfortable around you, and every time you take out your knife to use it for a utility task, they're going to feel uncomfortable and maybe sort of just not be around you. Where on the other hand, if you inform people and tell them, yeah, it's a good tool to have, use it to like cut my lunch, cut a sandwich in half, peel an apple, break down cardboard like I do all the time, and then they'll just see it as a tool and not out of the ordinary. So I know this has been a pretty big ramble video. I tend to do these every so often, but really like this topic of discussion, and really want to thank Kevin Cleary and BirdShot for actually doing videos for this, and hope you appreciated this video and enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.